Well, number one, congratulations on being inducted into the Eagles Hall of Fame. What does that feel like when you hear your name associated with that, Malcolm?
It's still very, very humbling. Especially, as it approaches you, I take the time to go through the Hall of Fame and see what other names, are in there to see what company, I now keep. And it's really, really humbling to see all of the greats, the Dawkins, the Cunninghams, just all that the people I grew up watching and idolizing, and to sit amongst them now as a peer and not necessarily a fan is, a huge honor for me. But I think it's a great honor to everybody that's been on this journey with me as well. Because I know that none of that happens in a silo. So I'm really excited to take the moment to really celebrate that time, all the work that was put in, and know that it meant something. But really take the opportunity to enjoy who took that journey with me.
So I know players, including yourself, when you're sort of going through it, you don't have a whole lot of time to reflect on what's happening. But now that you've had a little space in between then in your career, and you look at your time in Philadelphia and everything that you were able to achieve, both on and off the field, what comes to mind for you? What is the biggest sense of pride, would you say?
I think the biggest sense of pride is that the things that I did, 5 years ago, a lot of it is still in place. It's I get really excited, when I talk to Connor Barwin and he lets me know that a lot of the culture that I helped cultivate in that locker room still exists. When I see the Eagles still doing work in the community, a lot of which was built by myself and teammates, pushing to really change the way that we approached community impact. Seeing those seeds that we planted are still very much alive, I think to me is what I'm most proud of. It's really not about, what I did on the field. Always going to be great players. It's always going to be those moments. But it's the test of, one's legacy is like, what do those moments mean as the years go by? Are those moments still feeding people? Or once I'm gone, are these things still in place? And to see that they are is really, really satisfying.
I saw everything that you took on firsthand, how after a Monday night game, you guys would wake up in the morning, take a train to Harrisburg, to push for bills that you believed in. I mean, it was and being sort of one of the front people for the social justice movement. It was a lot to take on as a player as you're going through a championship season as well. Why did you feel compelled at that time to do it? And what is the feeling like now looking back on having accomplished that?
Yeah, I think it stems from just having a genuine love for people. And I think when you start with that, then you no longer, put yourself in the mindset where you have to kind of always protect what you do. And I think as athletes, we're always trying to block out distractions. We don't want to do anything outside of our routine. But I think that makes us great football players, but really ineffective citizens. And I wanted to be both, and understood that that required sacrifice, but I think it was well worth it when we started to see the impact that we have. We understand our power as athletes to convene people, to get meetings, to amplify work, to support community. And it requires us, nothing but energy and time. And when you think about, especially now on this end of it, when I'm no longer on the field, I don't think we consider how much energy and time the community gives us. People show up every week, every year, for generations with energy, passion, pride, support, money. Um, and so when you start to really compare those things, it's really not that big of a sacrifice. It felt more of a responsibility, if I was going to call this place home.
Was there a level of pressure though? Because if you're doing all those things outside of football, you have to take care of business in football, or else the reaction in this town, you know exactly what that would be. But you were able to do that. Not only that, but but lead a team to a championship. So how was that pressure to deal with?
Yeah, it was definitely you understand that, when you start to do anything outside of this game, your people are going to expect you to perform. Uh, the good part about that is I expected me to perform. And so I was really good at compartmentalizing my day, my time. I had a really great team who helped me, manage all of that was going on, family, the community, my own foundation, the team, my preparation, all of those things, took time, energy from more than just me. It was a whole group of people, teammates who also were along, with me on that journey. And I think that made it easier. If it was something, a burden I was truly carrying by myself, I think I likely wouldn't have lasted as long in doing it. But because I had so much support, and it was truly a group effort, it really didn't feel separate from football. It actually felt like it amplified what we did on the field. The more we played well, the further our voices went, the more impactful we were. And so the two really started to complement one another.
That's well said. And how are you seeing the seeds that you planted during that time start to bear fruit, whether it's with other players who have carried that torch or initiatives that you started that have really began to develop? What are you seeing there?
I mean, immediately when we started those things, we had funds going to grassroots organizations. We were supporting the community. So it was real impact while I was there. And then I noticed after I left, you had new voices kind of step up to the mic. Rodney McLeod was one. A few other guys that were pushing for ending gun violence in the city. And then even when they are now no longer in a team, I'm watching closely. The organization, for one, has continued its commitment to a lot of those organizations that are doing work around social justice in the city. But to see leaders like Jalen Hurts in his community work and his stance on who he supports and why, I think is really, really commendable. And so even if it's not directly correlated, it has created the space and a long tradition now of athletes from that Eagles locker room being true advocates for the city.
So you have a unique perspective on what it's like post Super Bowl to then have the season that follows that and everything that comes with it. I had a conversation with Gino Ariema, who had talked with Nick Sirianni before the year, and he basically said like, oh, "This is going to be the hardest thing that you do." What makes it such a challenge when you're coming off of a championship season to push forward in that following year?
It's all the lies you tell yourself. That's what makes it hard because you just won a Super Bowl. So even though you go back to the starting line in your mind, you are Super Bowl caliber team, and you think that you deserve almost to get there. Even if you don't talk it, you might say the right things. Internally, a lot of times you lie to yourself. The fans lie to themselves. The everyone in the sport tells you how good you are and why they expect you to do something. And then the season comes and you realize that this season has nothing to do with last year. You got to survive injuries. You got to win games. It's a different team. It's a different opponents. Nothing about last year carries over into this year. And I think I went through that as going into my second year after winning a Super Bowl with the Saints. Um, that next year was totally different. We had a really, really talented team, but totally different year. And the same thing after winning the Super Bowl in Philly. That next year we were riddled with injuries and had to fight through multiple lulls in the season, and it was just completely night and day from the year before. And it's truly because the locker room is not the same. Every year that team turns over, and it is a new page. And I think the faster teams get to that truth, that they're starting at zero and nothing is, don't take anything for granted. I think those are the teams that can repeat, that can create dynasties, and that can stand the test of time.
I'm really curious to hear your take on Jalen Hurts. So he's reigning Super Bowl MVP. His record as a starter is unquestioned. And yet, there's I'm sure that you're in tune with it. There's been different reports about frustration inside the organization directed towards him and his style of play. And I know that you have a relationship with Jalen. So how do you sort of make sense of everything and the unique leadership position that he's in?
Yeah, I can't make sense of kind of the activities that are happening around him. Um, but I do know, and I do really respect his demeanor and his approach and how he goes about it. As much attention and much disrespect, criticism, praise, whatever goes his way, he constantly doesn't make it about himself. Even, and I've seen, guys throughout my career, much more decorated that could not take the type of criticism uh, from the organization, from the locker room, from fans, from analysts, and without making it a thing. And I think it's really commendable that he's able to keep his focus, that he's able to roll with the punches. Um, it's a really a true testament to his leadership, and it's a reason why the team is where they are. It might not be pretty, but the results are the results, and that's what we're all here for. And so I think it's when I talk about lying to yourself, I think a lot of the hype that comes around him are people just absolutely lying to themselves. They have expectations and things they want to see, and completely ignoring the results. And so for him, I'm a big fan for Jalen, not only because of my personal relationship, but just because of what he stands for, and understanding myself what it looks like to have a vision for a team, for something that maybe not everybody sees, but I have to stand 10 toes down on it until everybody sees, what I see.
You saw that in him early. I remember that his rookie year, you went up to him and you said, like, you're built for this.
Mhm.
How did you know that?
I mean, if you Jalen, if you followed him, you know he's not new to being criticized. And I knew that was his first game, and I'm like, okay, he's going to be here regardless of what anybody wants to think. He's going to be the quarterback, and I know his style of play, just the way that his demeanor to the game is going to garner criticism. Um, it always has, and so. But I think in watching him as an opponent, as a fan, if there is nobody else who's more equipped to be in the position that he's in right now. And I've watched quarterbacks and players my whole career. Not many could be in the seat that he's in. And so, yeah, I recognize that very early. And I think it's no surprise that he's standing here now, a Super Bowl champion, still leading one of the best teams in the National Football League, all while holding all of it on his shoulders.
And how do you explain what it's like to be in that position as the leader? And as you said, seeing the vision and you have to kind of push through until everybody else does. Like I'm sure the locker room wasn't always, roses with you, right? I mean, people not always on the same page with what you're delivering, how you're leading the team. I've heard people say that leadership is a lonely place. Like just can you help us explain what that's like?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, anybody who's taking a long road trip with their family, it's like it's. I imagine it now to be like my dad, right? He's the one driving. He's got his hands on the wheels. He's looking for all of the hazards. He's the one getting us to the destination, and a lot of us are in the back seat complaining about how bumpy the ride is. How close we got to, almost crashing, and really it's up to him to keep his focus and block it all out because he's in that position. And I think that's really what leadership is about is like, hey, if you're the one with the hands on the wheel, everybody's allowed an opinion. It's fine. But your focus has to be on the main thing, and that's getting us to where we're going.
So the Eagles Hall of Fame, what comes with that? Do you get like a key to the city? What kind of perks are we talking about here?
You know what? I'm not sure yet. I've been waiting for those things to come. We'll see on Friday if it comes with anything. I know I'm getting a jacket at the very minimum. So, but no, I've already gotten enough. I think the honor itself is just, like I said, extremely humbling, and it's an honor. Because sometimes those aren't things that I really played for. Like I wanted to have an impact. I wanted to make sure our team was remembered. I wanted to do something that was worth remembering. But I also know that that's never a guarantee. Those things are out of my control. You just work with faith and love. And so to see now those things come back and be recognized long after I finished, and then to be placed amongst those who've done it at the highest level in the history of this organization is is an honor I really wasn't expecting, and it's extremely humbling.
Well, listen, you deserve it. I feel really grateful that I was able to chronicle your journey here in Philadelphia from start to finish. And you did it at the highest level on the field, in your leadership, and in what you did in the community. So I'm proud of you, Malcolm. Congratulations. Well earned.
And I appreciate that, brother. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.